What's up, guys? It's the trucking guy, hashtag the real trucking guy, coming at you. Today's video is going to be about how to cut costs in the trucking industry, right? Now, there's different variations to this coming into it. So you can cut costs as a owner operator, you can cut costs as a fleet owner, you can cut costs as a company owner. There's many ways to do it, right? So basically coming into it, you have set margins, guys. Let's go with the owner operator side of things and just show you how the set costs are, right? So the owner operator, you're paying for insurance most of the time. Sometimes you're not. So that's one way you can cut costs, is by having cheaper insurance and or not paying the insurance, leased onto a company that'll pay it for you. Another way you can cut costs is by increasing revenue, because if you have an X amount of profit and you work for a company that averages you $4,000 a week, but you could work for a company that averages you between 45 and 7 a week, then you would have increased revenue. But one way to cut costs is fuel, right? Everybody thinks that, I'm just going to pull in. It's easier pulling the pilots. It's easier pulling loves. This is hotshot, guys. But with the semis is getting an app or really strategically placing out your fuel. There's different applications for routing your fuel stops, right? Different fuel cards have back-end apps that can help you do this on where to save money for fuel. And you'll get more discounts at TA than you would pilot, or pilot than you would TA, or vice versa, or different companies, right? So saving money on fuel, guys, I've seen guys save as much as $800 to $1,000 a month, really watching what they spend on fuel, guys. And it's a lot of money when you really sit down and add it up. That's a lot of money. Cutting costs when you come into it, making sure your interest rates are really set up right on your, being strategic about where you fuel is one way to cut costs, okay? You can get it, 40 cents cheaper here or X there. So we talked about insurance, we talked about fuel, but one of the big things is when you buy your truck, getting a good interest rate on that truck, getting your payment right on that truck is a way to cut costs. Also your trailer, guys. A lot of guys think that, I can go out there and finance a trailer. It doesn't matter what I pay for, or lease it if I don't have credit to buy it, whatever. But you need to save money and try to buy a trailer, because that is a huge expense that you can cut right out of the way. If you pay that trailer off, that trailer's still going to be good to you. Some people lease the trailers and think that I can just write it all off. They handle all of the maintenance, and I don't have to worry about it. And that is possible. I've seen guys, do it both ways. I prefer to pay off my trailer or have a cheap payment on my trailer, but we do have some lease. There's many different ways to go about that, but that's a way to look at cutting costs, is your lease payments, your trailer payment, and then your maintenance overall, right? So preventative maintenance is gonna cut you major costs, guys, because you're not gonna have major breakdowns. With brakes, it's easier to change brake pads on a hotshot truck than it is to ruin the rotors, ruin the calipers, so on and so forth. The same thing when it comes to semis, guys. Cutting costs by having all new tires put on the truck and maintaining your oil changes at certain increments so that your motor lasts, so that you're not putting a ton of money into it, right? One of the other things that'll cut you costs is running a hotshot, is running 14 or 16 ply tires on your equipment, whether it be truck and trailer or vice versa. And then parking, where you're strategically parking. Are you using hotels? There's many ways to cut costs like that. Another one is, for those of you, if we get onto the fleet owner side or the company owner side, is there's only a few ways you can cut, right? If you're doing an 80-20 split and you're paying certain things, there's not a lot that you can cut out of that, guys. So your admin fees, as far as paying, QuickBooks, different things like your safety department, maybe your TMS software you might be using to manage the loads and where they go and different things like that. Your factoring fees, cutting your factoring fees. Try to get in with a company that'll bring you in introductory rate around 3% to 2%. And we can do that for you. I can help you with that, by the way, so reach out to me. But starting with a company that'll get you a good rate, introductory rate, as well as insurance, guys. Leasing on with somebody to save an insurance, but finding a good insurance company and only carrying the cargo and liability. I know when I first came on, my agent told me I was forced to carry the physical damage on the truck through that company, and that's not true. I was actually legally allowed to only carry the cargo and liability. That person just wanted to make more money from us to insure the trucks. So we did not have to insure the trucks. We were able to insure the trucks physical damage elsewhere for a much cheaper rate, and plus mitigate your risk, because if you have a short month or a truck breakdown, you don't owe this amount of money to the company that's going to turn off your MC. Maybe you get hit a late payment on your physical damage and it's not a big deal. Maybe they say, okay, we'll give you another month or whatever. They give you a cancellation notice. But on the MC number, if you're late on the payment to your insurance company, that's it. They cancel your MC. They pull it down for late or cancellation of insurance, which is bad, guys, because once that happens, a lot of brokers and shippers will see that when they pull your Safer score, or they look up on Carrier 11 and they see, okay, this guy had his insurance canceled at one time and his MC was, inactive. I don't want him to be pulling a load for me, not paying his insurance, and everything gets canceled. He crashes the load and we're responsible for it. So they're not going to do that. But that's one way to cut costs, is through insurance, through getting good factoring. Your load boards, guys, when you get to your load boards, really kind of look and see how you can cut costs with that, and if you can get in on a deal or a promo or whatever. There's just so many ways to cut costs, guys, that you really have to sit down and look at it. If you're using your bank account constantly, and I know guys that have had constant overdraft fees, to the tune of $600 a month consistently, that's not something you want to do. So cut that cost. Your phone bill that you're using for the company, how can you cut costs on that? There's some things you don't want to cut. You want to spend money on things that are going to help you make your job easier, and in the long run, right? But if you've got major credit card debt that you used to start the business, pay that off quickly so you don't have that as an operating cost and your profits are way down, right? You want your profit margins to be good every week consistently, guys, so that you can draw money out of the business and pay your bills at home, your mortgage, whatever. But you also want to have the business making some money itself to put aside for, things like tires, things like breakdowns, things like audits, things like fines, things like expansion, things like buying new equipment, like 16-foot ramps to use to load cars if you don't have the equipment, or better tarps or tarp blankets, or new tarps every year that you want to upgrade, or whatever it is, guys, or saving to add a truck. By cutting costs, you can expand. So that's one big thing to look at, and it's very important to try to cut costs in every area that you can. If you can do tolls, if you're running tolls a lot, try to route around tolls if you can, or take loads that aren't in toll areas, okay? By cutting costs, you can do something like negotiate a higher rate for the load. I know that sounds crazy, like how is that cutting costs? But it really is, because if you have $1,000 that you're working with, but you increase that load by even $100 by asking for a tarp pay or whatever it is, that actually is cutting costs, because you're increasing your revenue at the same time. So if you had $300 profit on that load, now you have a $400 profit on that load. You do that 5 times a month, guys, or just get better at negotiating, or start working with people that you work with more and kind of break that barrier down. Study negotiation tactics, you guys, that you get on the load, and I deal with it on the brokerage side as well. And I say, hey, what's up? Hey man, how you doing? I want to get this load. Would you do 1,500? Well, no, I can't do 1,500. I can do 1,000. Okay, sounds good. So get better at negotiate. Hey man, how you doing? Well, that's what everybody says. One thing I used to say is I got the brokers always say I have no more money in the load. This is all the load pays. I'm making $50, right? So just break that around, and I say, man, everybody's making $50 on every load. That's why brokerages are going broke. And they'll laugh. And then once you break that barrier down, get in there a little deeper and say, man, I know everybody's making $50. Come on, how about you actually make 150 or 200 instead of the 300 or 400 or 500 that you're making? Throw me a bone here. Give me $100, man. You like me. I'm funny. I'll be working with you on the next one. And especially if you've worked with them before, save their cell number, call them directly. Or if you see a load posted with a certain company, instead of calling the load who it's posted with, sometimes call the guy that you know there, and he can pull it up and book it with you, and you'll make another $100 every time that way, or whatever. Sometimes it's not there, but sometimes it is. To do it that way and get the other guy out of the way who wasn't going to give you the money anyway. You didn't know him, but you know this person or gal, and you can call her and say, hey, throw me another $100 on this. Yeah, no problem, for so-and-so, Joe. I like you. You did good for us in the last 10 or 20. And as that relationship grows, you're able to negotiate, and it's much easier for you than it is in the beginning. So by negotiating a higher rate, you're cutting costs, okay, in my opinion. Some people might say that differs, but that's one of the best ways to cut costs, is by negotiating a better rate. Because if I didn't go into that rate and maybe even doing like some oversized, by increasing your revenue, if you do more oversized freight and really delve into that side of the industry and become more specialized, you may increase your overall rate per mile and your overall revenue by a lot. You might do $6 a mile loads on $1,000, whereas you used to do $2 a mile loads on 1,000 miles. So now you went from $2,000 revenue to $6,000 revenue. I don't know how you could call that not cutting costs. You've increased revenue a lot, which keeps your costs way lower on that amount of revenue. So that's just one way to look at it, guys. There's many other avenues. I think those are the most important key factors. But if you have an office, really look at hey, do I need this office? Do I ever even use it? Do I need this truck that's not really doing well? Do I need this trailer? Can I get in a different trailer situation that saves me money? Can I do this differently? Do I even really need this equipment? Do I even really need to run this lane? Do I really need, look at those type of things and really look at areas that you can cut costs. But that's a few little tips from the Trucking Guy. Catch you on the next one. Please subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up, turn on notifications, leave a comment. Hey, good, bad, and we will catch you on the next one. See you later.